The U.S. freight recession keeps getting deeper.
The election year is always a bad year for trucking. All this is hitting at once. Everything has died down. It's in a slump. It's a shipper's market. It's not a trucker's market. We also have the economy status.
Just the sacrifice of being out here on the road is not worth it. Freight has not been good.
This market, it's so fierce with how low rates are and everything that if you pretty much ask for it, or if you even hint to detention time, brokers, from what I've heard, are getting angry. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to. They don't want to talk about detention time. They don't want to talk about, negotiating rates.
Now, as far as Arnold Transportation, basically, just declared bankruptcy. 341 truck drivers out of a job.
Because they don't have to. They can literally hang up the phone and some sucker, all right, is going to call and just take the load.
They have not been making any money out here. I think since the first part of December, I probably had 3 decent paychecks. It had 3 decent paychecks.
To cut shipping costs is sending trucking industry hopes of earnings rebound into a skid. Freight rates have been retreating for much of the year in the trucking sector's spot market. Analysts and the industry executives say longer-term contract prices are also declining as shipping customers focus on keeping inventories lean and logistics spending tight.
Hasn't been the revenue, it's been the death by 1,000 cuts. Last week I put 4 tires on trucks. 2 tires on one truck, 2 tires on another truck, plus some other shit. You're talking about $5 grand, $6 grand between all that. I got a truck that was down for family reasons. You know what? That's costing me a bunch of money right there, just being down. So it's never been the revenue. When all the trucks are running the way they need to run, it hasn't been the revenue. It's been the other shit. Joshua, go to work for a mini fleet for a while until freight gets better. Kearsey, I'm not even joking around about this. I would think about going and working for a mini fleet right now. COVID did change a bunch of different things and stuff like that. My game plan was very solid with what I had planned, but things kind of changed a little bit. One thing I do know is you can't skip the struggle. And once you make it through that, the promised land is right there, but just getting there is so hard. Oh yeah, hey Kearsey, I believe you. Being a company driver is much better than people think. Man, I got people telling me, Lyle, I'm gonna need a couple new tires. Like, it ain't no thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like another day, and I'm just like, God damn.
If you're in the process of applying, especially if you're moving from one trucking company to another, you might find that it's a lot slower than you remember. If you've been in the industry since before the pandemic, it's been a lot slower. And like I said, I've had a few rejections, and I don't know, maybe these companies are just ghosting people now. Maybe they don't even care enough to say, we're not hiring you. That certainly happens. But it's been surprising how few companies have responded.
Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kearsey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. The following is some clips from a live feed I did with Freight Skater, who was flatbed here at Prime, and then he went reefer. He was a team trainer, and now he teams with his wife. He started about the same time as me, I think about eight years ago or so. And we were on the driver advisory board together. So this is an interesting interaction because we're pretty much talking company versus lease and answering some of the questions about leasing in the live feed. So please stay tuned. And I'm company and he's lease, and we were both on the driver advisory board together.
I don't advise anybody go lease unless you are wanting to be a part of that business side of things and you possibly have aspirations to buy a truck. 10 Derm 89 said lease is not for everyone. It's not. And taco truck lover 99, lease drivers make more? Not necessarily, brother. There's been a lot of them that have done, I can promise you, done way less than Kearsey has.
And so we used to go back and forth all the time because he would say, no, I make more. And I'd be like, okay. And then he tried to show me his settlements. And when I showed him my pay, because one thing that happens is lease ops really think company drivers only make $600 to $800. And I'm like,
Right.
if that's what I was making, don't you think that I'd be ticked off that my
Right.
students are making more than me? That doesn't even make sense. But a lot
Exactly.
of people only know what it was to be company 10 years ago when they first started, or at other companies. They weren't company here. And they
Right.
don't realize we get pay raises. And he's like, well, no, they start at 50, but then we get bonuses and we get raises. And, so
Mhm.
I'm not at 50 cents a mile. I'm not 62 cents a mile. I'm doing really good.
Right. And everybody's path to success is different, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're doing it wrong, doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. It just means we're
Mhm.
doing what fits us, what we need. And if it's fitting your lifestyle, it's meeting your needs and it's allowing you to accomplish your goals. Like you can't let anybody tear you down from that. And I said that in a comment earlier, you'll never have a hater that's ever doing better than you ever. Don't ever think that. So every time she gets a negative comment and every time I get a negative comment, we just smile because it's funny to us.
I
It
blow
really is.
kisses.
There you go. Yeah. I love every
Yeah.
single one of them.
That's right. I don't care.
There's a lot of videos on my channel where, it looks like it's contradicting Prime completely. Prime Inc. training is not worth the money. But the thing about it is there's always value in that video. You have to watch the video to find the value. And that particular video is you were talking about training for the right reasons. If you don't train because you want to give back, you're going to hate it.
Right.
And if you hate it, what signal are you giving to that brand new driver in that passenger seat or the driver's seat, whichever shift it is? You're telling him, man, this guy's been out here 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. He's miserable. I don't want no part in this. So
Right.
you're not giving that positive signal that you need to be giving. And if you do it for the right reasons, just like with anything, the money will come. It's going to happen. We all want to be paid $1 million every week while we're out here. Our time's worth that, but the sad reality is it's not going to happen. Don't run your business with your emotions, whether it's lease, company, whatever. Do not truck with emotions, because you got to realize you have the most dangerous tool in the world at your fingertips. It's an 80,000 pound rocket. I mean, it's going down a hill. I mean, merging into traffic, whatever. Don't run your business. Do not truck with emotions. That's all I can say. It takes a lot of discipline and patience to realize that, because I think I don't know how it was when you first came out. When I first come out, man, I thought I was hot shit, driving a big truck, I was bad to the bone. Like, man, you got to realize there's a lot of respect and responsibility that comes with that. I'm not perfect. Okay. I'm just out here trying to be like what your actual YouTube channel says, a positive voice in trucking, trying to give you guys something positive to look at, because there's a lot of negativity out here. And we were talking about being real. And I made that comment about, everybody wants real until they get real. I can get on here and I can complain all I want and tell you this is the worst it's ever been at Prime. I've never seen freight like this. Is terrible. Guys, I don't know what's going on, yada, yada, yada. And what's that going to do? It's going to scare the hell out of you. You're going to be like, oh, I don't know, man. I might not want to come into trucking. I don't want to do this. I want to do this. Or I could say, hey, guys, it's the worst it's ever been. But guess what? Prime's doing a good job by keeping everything spread. Everybody's fed. We might not be eating what we want to be eating, but we're still eating, And for me, that's been a testament, because I can look at those numbers using that OTR software that I use. And I can look back and say, hey, my average is down total take home $800 this year versus last year at the same time. But we're still making money. I'm not under the verge of collapse. I'm not having to sell my truck back to Prime, or, I don't feel that way. And I really feel like Prime's done a really good job. And when you go back to the brown nosing comments of earlier, which I know that they weren't personal, you start realizing that, hey, the reason, if you actually listen to these videos that we put out here, the reason we're positive is because we've had good success here and we have faith in the company that we're running for. And the reason we have faith is because they've done good by us. Okay. And if you win the lottery and the secret to the lottery, okay, Why would you not want to share that with everybody? Why would you not want to share that experience with everybody so everybody else can have, just out of greed, just out of, ego? I mean, I can get on here and tell you guys about every single great thing that happens to me, but I'd rather just tell you guys about everything that happens out here, and just so you can form your own opinions and you can decide for yourself, like, hey, is this going to be good for me? Turning that truck in early, I had to pay, basically, out of all the things to bring the truck back up to spec for the next driver, it was close to $4,000 I had to pay.
But you said all that, and still you made videos with titles, "Why are all the drivers leaving Prime?"
Well, it was a question that was asked. The question asked, they asked the question, and I said, well, there's a lot of reasons drivers could be leaving Prime. We talked about it. If you can't act professionally and you can't be a professional operator and professional driver and act accordingly, nobody's going to do you any favors. Prime doesn't have to work with you. That's the thing. They don't have to. And they have a lot of resources available to anybody that wants to use them. They don't tell you guys, you got to come in and you have to be here 10 years and you got to buy a truck and you got to do this, or you got to run company for 2 years before you do this. No, they want you to be successful how you want to be successful. That's the freedom aspect that they have. You're allowed to use all those resources in that safety net and be successful how you deem you should be successful, accomplish your goals the way you want to accomplish them. The reason people are leaving trucking, I think, is a lot of misinformation. A lot of people feel like, hey, just because my experience wasn't like Kearsey's or my experience wasn't like Freight Skaters, it's not fair. And you know what? The grass is looking greener over there on that side of the fence. Well, the grass is always going to look greener where the dog shit.
I also think there's a couple other reasons. One, we had so many people come in during the peak of COVID where everybody was making so much more money.
I said
And
that.
when they came in, right, they just assumed that was going to be what trucking was normally like.
It was crazy.
But watch it, even on the YouTubers that have only been out there, since then. What were they saying? I'm going to buy a truck in cash and I'm going to get $6 a mile. And this is what I'm going to do. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's right now. Like, you haven't even been here long enough to even have an opinion, really. You've been here 4 months. You don't know what you're talking about. And I hate to sound like a witch, to sound like I'm being pessimistic, but sometimes it's a dose of reality, So
Right.
I think we had a lot of people like that came in during the peak and they thought that was normal.
False
So
expectations.
now it's going back to what it was before COVID, and now people don't know how to deal with it, and we have an oversaturation. You mentioned that in your videos. The one thing about the people leaving trucking is that people came in and they thought it was high and that's what it's going to be. And I think another issue is with the freight being low and, we're not making as much as we were. Depending on where you come from in the country makes a difference whether or not this job is worth it.
Right.
I have a lot of people from Mississippi. I have students from, more rural areas that they'll sit here and tell me, well, geez, $800, $900 a week in training is more than I would make in 2 weeks at my job now, because they're in the middle of nowhere.
No.
But somebody from New Jersey, $900 is not going to pay my bills.
Or LA. Yeah.
Right. Or LA.
I think people, like you said, false expectations with the way the market was during COVID. People freak out. They're just, man, I was counting on making $3,000 a week. I was counting on making $5,000 a week. And sometimes you just can't do it. The wisest thing that was ever told to me was by several old school guys. They'll say, son, when the sun's shining, put up for the rainy days, because they're coming. And they knew that cycle was going to happen. They know that they've seen it over and over and over again. You get 5, 6, 7 good years out of trucking, and the next thing you know, boom, flatline, and it's got to pick back up again. And I feel guilty with the referrals that we get, and I'll tell you why, is because I feel like the trucking market is saturated with drivers right now. I really feel like it is. That's a true feeling that I have. I feel like we don't have a shortage of drivers like the industry pushes. We have a shortage of quality drivers. Okay. Exactly. We have a shortage of drivers with common sense and common decency. And I feel like the old school crowd, the original guys, the original asphalt cowboys, are sitting back in their trucks and they're tired. They're so tired of it and they're so fed up with it the way the industry has become, that they have went so far as to not only gripe about it, but to not help.
Is Prime going to open up the load choice again?
I know. So when we've had, and Kearsey, I don't know if you remember this, all of our meetings that we did for DAB, load board was a big thing. Okay.
Right.
And we always brought it up, and it always got shot down miserably. But the load choice system, and like Taco said, it's not all that. I saw his comment, and it's true. Load choice is very unreliable because depending on how the algorithm of the system's working at the time that you pull your loads for load choice, you might see 3 loads per pull, or you might see no loads at all. It just depends on the time of the day, when the loads are coming in. If you're getting empty at 10 o'clock at night, okay, and you pull that load choice 2 hours before your PTA, your predicted time of availability, you might get a load that's great, but you don't get it loaded till the next day at 6 p.m. So not the next day, but the following day. So you might have to be sitting there for 36 hours. And so you might say, well, man, that's a $5 mile load, but I'm not going to wait for 36 hours for that load. Or it might be something that's like, hey, that's going to top my week off. I'll go ahead and take it. And sometimes you get nothing, and you still have to rely on your fleet manager and sales and the planners to plan you. Now, that being said, you have to remember Prime is a contract-based company. So they have contracts that they have to fulfill with their customers. Now, if we were all running around on load boards, picking whatever loads we wanted, obviously we're all going to pick the best ones available, the highest rate per mile, the highest grossing loads, whatever the case may be, whatever fits your truck at that time, what's going to be left? Those little relocation loads, the ones out of the backhaul areas that we're not. So obviously, and Kearsey, I don't know if you ever get to see any rates or anything like that from other drivers, but Hershey is notably one that is a tough one,
$30, $20.
That and Tropicana, and most people won't take it. But the thing about it is, guys, is before you turn that bad load down that they send you, you got to remember what areas it bring you in. Okay. And once again, the OTR software, I can map everywhere out that we go, where we pulled from, what we pulled. And I can tell you, so hey, if that thing's taking me over to Illinois or Ohio, man, that's going to pay off bank in the long run, because I can hurry up and get it over there. And so, I mean, it's all about what you need in that moment. Don't just deny a load over rate per mile. Find out where it's going. What do you need for the rest of the week? Does your fleet manager, is he needing you to do him a favor? And a lot of people say, I don't do favors or whatever. If they're coming to you and you're asking you for something, there's a reason for it. Like it's not because and I truly believe I've never once been asked to do something with Prime and it not paid off in the back end. It may have took a little time, may have took 2 or 3 loads to get that payoff, but we got it, And I truly believe that it is a partnership with Prime. It's not we just run their freight type of deal. So whether you're company or lease, and Kearsey's probably been asked to do several repowers and things like that before. And even being company, I mean, you stick your neck out for them, they stick their neck out for you. And I truly believe that that's why we've done so well here, both of us. It's not a me thing. You know what I'm saying? We're all, like I said, we all want to get paid everything. I'm worth $1 million a week, but you just gotta take what you got, man, and be grateful for it, because do the loads go to favorites, is what Muppet said. I don't know. I'm definitely not a favorite.
I'm going to say yes. I'll say yes, and I'm going to explain why.
Go ahead.
And I've seen this happen. Okay.
Go ahead.
I had a friend who the first year she was here, she was running 3,000 miles a week plus, because she had a goal of paying off bills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As soon as that first year and she paid off her bills, that was it. She only wanted to do 1,500 miles a week anymore, because she didn't have any bills. She was living in the truck. So she didn't even really want to work. She was just surviving. That's what she wanted.
Right.
Okay. So every single load came up with a problem, and it was a complaint. It was, oh, well, I can't go deliver in Atlanta because there's no parking at midnight after I get out. Oh, I can't deliver during the Atlanta during the day because of the traffic. Well, you're saying you don't want to go to Atlanta then,
Right.
but it was always something. So
she kept
getting shorter and shorter loads. She went from 1,200 mile loads down to 200, 300 mile loads, which company drivers don't want. The lease ops like short loads because they're usually higher in revenue. But for a company driver, we want the long loads because we want the high miles. And,
Right.
So it turned out that, get this, sales decided to have me and her shadow each other because they wanted me to try to educate her on how to leave earlier, how to trip
Right.
plan better, because they thought that it was a trip planning issue, right? And how they thought that after her running so hard for a year, I don't know, but it was a way for them to try to educate her,
Hmm.
right? And I would actually be trying to, like, we would go to dinner together, park at the same truck stops and everything, and I'd be calling her, trying to wake her up. I'd be 6 hours ahead of her, and she would still just be getting up now.
Right.
So, yes. So our final load, after shadowing each other for like a week and a half, we were sitting in the dock side by side, and they gave her a 200-mile load and they gave me a 1,600-mile load. So then she got mad. And she's like, "See, they're trying to,
So she knew about
they're
the shadow
screwing me.
project then?
It's." And I said, "You know what it is? They can't rely on you to get it done. And no matter what you do, what they give you, you're going to complain.
Right.
So when they have something good, who are they going to give it to? They're going to give it to the ones that have proven themselves. They're going to give it as a reward out. So whether you want to say I'm the favorite because I do my job, or I'm the favorite because I don't complain, whatever, it comes down to the fact that I get the job done. So they're going to give the
Right.
better load to the person that gets the job done. That's the way I see it.
And
You
that's
know,
that's true. And then Taco made another good comment. He says the system gives better loads to the lower gross if the next driver has a higher gross, and to spread the wealth evenly. And I truly believe that on the lease side as well. And the thing about it is Prime being a contract company and them having that control, they're trying to keep everybody profitable, which to an extent is fair, and to an extent it's not unfair, because for drivers like me who are very proactive, and I'm always getting unloaded as early as I can and loaded as early as I can, and managing my clock correctly and being safe out there. You got other guys that will, like you said, they'll wait till the last second to leave. They will do whatever they can to get a 34, and they will, 234s a week if they can. People, different strokes for different folks, right? That's the way they want to live. Well, when you see those drivers that are like that in their lease, and then you turn around and you're at those same place, because that same instance has happened with us. I'm at that same place where I'm with that other driver that I know about, who doesn't have the same practices and same habits that I do, and the way I run my business. They'll get that better load. I'll be like, "Hey man, what are you sitting at for the week already on Monday?" And they'll be like, "Oh, well, I'm sitting at 3,200. What are you sitting at the week on Monday?" "Oh, I'm sitting at 5,400. Oh, okay. Well, next thing you know, I get a $1,600 load, and that guy gets a $3,000 load.
right.
So, and I've seen that before. So Taco, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a simple fact. It's another factor of you don't have the control over that. You can only control what you can control. So, and I think it's great that Prime wants to even out the playing field to an extent. But when it comes to miles, when you're talking about company, yeah, that makes sense, because obviously the company drivers are shooting for those miles. We want high revenue, low miles as lease ops,
Right.
but don't get me wrong. I've run several 7,000-mile weeks out here, gal. So,
Well, I'm not saying you did.
all
I'm
right.
sure you
All right.
did. but like, now, I feel your frustration though. I feel the frustration of a lease op though. When I was on that lease truck last summer, Alan Godfrey was on the DAB with us,
Mm-hmm.
and I went on one of his trucks last summer before I got hurt. And you know, it's frustrating when on his truck I could see the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I would try to do better, and no matter what I did, I couldn't do better. They still kept me at an average. So yeah, one week I'd have 6,700 in revenue, but then the next week it would be back down to 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I wanted to do a good job for him, I felt like there was no way for me to improve that. And it wasn't the dispatcher. He let me take that truck to my former dispatcher. My former fleet manager went from company to lease. So it wasn't that either. And I think that goes back to what we were saying before about who you're listening to and who you get info from,
Right.
because there have been YouTubers out here saying, well, if you go lease, your revenue's unlimited and you have unlimited earning potential. That's not really true.
No.
It's, you know, it's not really true. If I'm doing something wrong, however, I'm only averaging 2,100 miles a week and never get off the truck.
So we're averaging 38.50 a week.
38.50 a week for a team. That's, yeah. I was gonna say I think I'm doing about 2,400 a week, 2,500 a week.
Right.
And, I was used to running a lot more. Now I'm also on a lease truck now. I'm on a mini fleet working for only trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really wasn't sure if my miles were different company versus lease, or if it's just because the freight sucks.
I think it's not really the freight sucking. It's just the availability. The wait times on the front and the back ends of the loads are a little bit longer. My wife and I are still seeing good rates. We're just seeing a lot of wait times.
Even as a company driver, I know they're about $1.25, $1.30, something like that. I know Tropicana loads are $1.10, something like that. And,
Right.
That's fluctuated. If you have hours, tell night dispatch, hey, is there anybody that needs a repower? I'll go do it. Or something else I do is, if I can go past the terminal, especially Springfield, and I had a lot of time on that load, I'll be calling the fleet manager, messaging the fleet manager saying, hey, I got a lot of time on this load. Can I drop it at the terminal? Can I drop it at a yard and get moving faster?
Right.
On the team truck, my goal was at least 4,000 miles a week, or I was making less than solo. So,
Right.
5,000 miles, woo. I had this one student, you were talking about great students. I had this one student, we did 23,000 miles in 1 month. And
That's
it's like,
bad to the
yeah,
bone right there. Yeah.
yeah. And it's
That's
like,
awesome.
now that's going to take a long time and it sucks.
I mean, it's all about your situation and what you're doing. Lease guys, obviously, want the high revenue, low miles. Company wants as many miles as they can get, and there's nothing wrong with that. Either way you look at it, but it just depends on what avenue you're trying to go down. I don't advise anybody go lease unless you are wanting to be a part of that business side of things, and you possibly have aspirations to buy a truck. If you don't have any of those things, don't go lease. There's no point. There's a possibility you could make more money. There's a possibility you could lose more money. You know what I'm saying? It's you got to have your goals set up. You got to have things lined up the way that you want them to. Always have a goal, now goal, a 2-year goal, a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal. Have goals, because if you don't have goals, you're not shooting for anything. Now, if you're one of these unicorn people, and I'm saying unicorn not as furry, I'm saying unicorn as in I got no wife, no kids, no house, nothing. I don't care about nothing. I can come out here and live on the truck and just make as much as I want, and then do whatever you want to do. Because obviously you're perfect for trucking. But it's really hard when you have a family. It was one of the toughest decisions we ever made, was going trucking, with 4 kids and a wife. And my wife and I, we didn't spend, until I went trucking, we didn't spend but one night apart from each other since 2005.
Okay,
Either or
yeah.
dingo.
And that's true for a company driver too. People think that company drivers don't get brand new trucks. Yes, we do. DJ that was in here, he's in a brand new truck. And just because the truck is brand new also doesn't mean that it's not going to have problems.
Right.
He has 34,000 miles on his truck, and he's in the shop with it like every 2 weeks.
Right.
So, and something that I really don't agree with is there's no lemon law on commercial vehicles. So
yeah, there should be, because we all known those drivers that have had brand new trucks and been in the shop constantly. Like it's just insane. And then we've been very blessed with our trucks that we've had, because they've given us little to no issues whatsoever. So, and that was on both sides of the spectrum, Freightliner and Peterbilt. So,
but as far as like the truck assignment, even a company driver, whether a company or a lease, you're getting whatever they got on the line. And yes, a lease could go and pick out that particular truck. There's an inventory list on the website. I had brand new truck. I also had 2 different trucks that were lease purchases that the people left. And so I got trucks that were all specced out with
Right.
like all these cool options and stuff, and they just didn't put it back in the lease pool for whatever reason. So
And make no mistake, if you're leased too, and you say, "Hey, look, I don't want any of those 5 trucks you guys have to offer. I'm waiting on this specific truck." They'll say, "Okay, that's no problem. You can wait on that specific truck, but we're not going to keep paying you to sit here and wait." So they're not going to keep paying you guys the $100 a day guarantee or whatever it is now. It's $125. When I came in, it was $600 guarantee a week when I was training. So now it's $900. So, but they're not going to keep paying you guys. They're going to say, "All right, we're going to put you at the bottom of the list. We're going to call you when that truck comes in." So at that point, you have a decision to make. Like, do I keep paying for my own hotel? Do I keep, supporting? Do I have enough money to fund my bills at home, while I sit here and wait on this truck? Or should I just grab something and go start making some money?
Yeah, but I think new people don't really realize that, number one, none of our trucks are old.
No, they're not.
I mean, and even with trucks that have people be like, "Oh, it's got 300,000 miles on it." So what? These trucks can do 2 million, 3 million if you take care of them. And
Right.
Prime's only going to keep them to 500,000 and they sell them.
Well, I can say my best advice, what I wish I would have done was, I got lucky. There was a brand new truck there on the lot when my name got called to come in, and I took it because I've had a huge family I was trying to provide for. So I was ready to get on the road and start going. And like your story, my story was to come in company for a year and go home and go local. And I saw how much money I could make lease. I sat there in that Millennium cafeteria for probably an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, and with a legal pad. And I was just doing equations, mathematical equations, breaking down miles, breaking down revenue, breaking down this, breaking down that, breaking down taxes, 30% max, whatever. And I got down to a point where I was like, you know what? If we can do this per mile, we'll make more than we can. And obviously it was a perfect world scenario. We'll make more than we could company. So I decided to go lease. It took forever to convince my wife to do that. And I did. And obviously I don't regret it at all. I do wonder sometimes what it would be like if I would have just done the year and went home. But now 2 completed leases later, 1 partial lease, and now we're in our buy truck, which has only got basically 2 more years to pay off. I don't regret it, but I have a strong sense of numbers, and math always came easy to me. So it was easy to follow these numbers and actually do, the stuff that I need to do for a lease on the business side.
That's the big question about used, though. How well did they maintain their truck before they gave it back to Prime? That would be my only concern. I've seen a lot of lease ops on walkaway lease that run their truck into the dirt and do jack for maintenance. But here's the thing you got to understand is that Prime is not going to turn around and give that truck back unless they do all the maintenance on it. And you can ask for the maintenance records. So he can tell you there's an inventory list on successleasing.com, and there's a whole list of trucks, and you have to be in the terminal, and you can sign up, and you have 3 hours to decide if you want that truck. Even as a company driver, guess what? I asked them for the maintenance list. Wouldn't you? Don't you?
Oh yeah. If it's used, definitely. And like I was going to say, my advice to anybody wanting to go lease is take what's available, but get the best out of what's available. So I wouldn't personally take anything with over 250,000 miles on it, just for the simple fact that the maintenance schedule on these trucks, you're going to, after 250K, you're going to start having some big ticket items come up. Your DPF filter cleaning, your automatic transmission service, stuff like that. So you don't really want to be responsible for that right out the gate. If you can get something with 100,000 miles or less, take it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, go ahead and take it, get moving, and then plan your attack. If you're going to buy a truck or if you're just going to continue leasing, because there's nothing wrong with continuing leasing. Some people think it's worthless, but you got to think you're doing nothing any different than McDonald's would do if they were leasing property to put a building on. They're leasing the property to have the building there. They don't own the property per se, but they're leasing it, okay, to conduct their business. There's nothing wrong with getting new equipment every 3 to 4 years. Nothing wrong with that at all. So, but if you guys do want to buy a truck, get that, used truck, get moving, start making some money, and start setting your goals. Hey, what do I need to put back to have this truck? What do I need to put back to have this down payment and order this truck? And then follow through.
Yeah. But and something that get this. So this fleet that I'm on, they gave me a choice. I could either wait for their new truck to come in that they already had on order, or they would buy me a used truck from Pedigree in cash.
Mhm.
And they gave me the choice. Well, you know what? I'd rather go get the used truck that has the maintenance record that I can see what's going on with this than to get a new truck that could possibly have an issue. I went and looked at them all, and this is the one I got, and it's amazing. I love this truck. It's a 21, and some people would say, "Oh, that's too old," but I love it, and I haven't had any issues with it. The maintenance reports, somebody backed into the mirror and broke the mirror off, so that's what was replaced before I got the truck.
Right.
Now,
And that's
but
another
that's
great
something,
thing.
since I have you on the line, I've asked this. I assumed that everything on a lease truck was covered under warranty as far as, if it was a warrant. I'm not talking wear and tear. I'm talking, a warranty item. But when I asked the shop, they were saying that no, some of the labor you have to pay for, it's the part that's under warranty. So how do you know that?
Well,
Do you
so
just have to
far,
ask them every time?
after 7 full years here at Prime and being all lease, I've never paid for, if it was a warranted item, I've never paid for the labor on it. So everything got paid for. Now, if it was something that was an issue that caused another issue, they may not warranty that other issue, then the other issue would have to be paid for by the lease op. But, 9 times out of 10, if it's a warranted item, because Prime offers 600,000 mile warranties, on their drive lines and engines and stuff like that, transmissions through the carriers or through the truck providers, you really don't ever have to pay for anything. I haven't paid for any labor or anything. It's always been covered under warranty.
Okay, so he asked, if they don't have the truck you want, do you have the option to take a different one until it comes in? Can you swap it, or do you have to keep that? And I'm going to guess that you just take a short lease one, but then you're stuck, you have to complete that lease, right?
Yeah. Well, no. So, okay, I'll give you a good scenario. The good scenario was when we got our blue Peterbilt Kryptonite. That truck was a 23. It had 8,000 miles on it. The only reason we finished our lease on our 21 Freightliner Tonk, and we wanted to try Peterbilt. Well, they didn't have any brand new Pete's at the time, but they had this 23, and this thing was nasty. The guy had it for like 3 weeks. It was nasty. Had the mattress for the bottom bunk laying on the fifth wheel. I mean, it was just gross. It was dingy. Like, just the floors are greasy. It was just ugh. It was disgusting. But 8,000 miles was nothing. I mean, it was basically a brand new truck. So we took it around. We drove around the yard, drove it down the dirt lot, loved it. Got it detailed and everything, loaded it up. We did 110,000 miles on that truck, I think, and turned it in because we had already put a down payment down on our Ace lease truck, Invictus, the white one. And we turned that truck in early. Turning that truck in early costed me more money than just finishing the lease on the other trucks. I had to pay, basically, out of all the things to bring the truck back up to spec for the next driver, it was close to $4,000 I had to pay. And I had a cracked windshield, stuff that, I think it was like the second week we had the truck, a rock came off a dump truck, started a small crack right there at the bottom right corner of the windshield. And we had all these little things that needed to be done to this truck, and they nickel and dimed us on it, and it cost me over $4,000. So my advice to anybody is, if you get the truck that you don't want, finish the lease out so you can accumulate that into lease bonus and put up money to the side to go ahead and order your truck. Call Success, find out what the wait time is for a new truck order. If it's 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And if they keep that truck, if they want you to keep that truck till the end of lease date or a certain type of mileage, see, I trained in all my trucks. So I hit that 597,000 mile mark in 2.5 years on every truck. There wasn't no 4 years for flatbed, me keeping that truck. I was 2.5 years, I was out of a truck and into another one. So you can take your miles, your actual miles on the truck, divided by the weeks you've been in service, and it'll tell you, you'll get within a 2 week range of when you're going to be turning that truck in if you stay consistent the way you're operating. So plan ahead. Call Success, say, hey, what's the truck orders out like? Were we out 4 months, 6 months, whatever? They're going to tell you. when you find out that time, say, hey, look, and also take into account how much time you're going to take off when you turn that lease in. So if you take off, you're wanting to take off 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, account for that time as well. So if they're 6 months out, you want to order that truck at 5 months before you turn it in, because you know you're going to be taking a month off. You want that truck to be there when you're ready to come back to work. So you guys, it's all a math game. Everything in trucking is math. You want to make sure that you are actually calculating all this stuff correctly. But my advice is, if you get the truck that you don't want, plan ahead, finish that lease out, and order the one that you want to buy or whatever it is, spec it out how you want, and take care of it that way. Plus, it's going to give you a couple extra benefits as well. After 1 year of leasing, you're going to get to put all those extras on payments, 10-week payments, no interest. Secondly, every year that you lease, a full year of leasing, you're going to get $1,000 knocked off that down payment when you order your truck. So there's a lot of benefits that come just from finishing a lease. And thirdly, you're going to have a nice little chunk of change built up at the end of that lease. It's going to go on that next payroll settlement to play with. So, and take that month off of work.
Yeah, but like you said, prepare for the time that you're going to be off looking at these trucks. Because I know people that have been here for 2 and 3 weeks, just waiting for the truck, going through, looking at
Right.
trucks, doing the maintenance records, then saying, no, I don't like this, and I'll just wait. Like, some people are so particular. So they told me, oh, well, company drivers don't get brand new trucks. Oh, really? Do you want a list of the people that I know this week that got brand new trucks?
Right.
No, you're fibbing to me. Don't be like that. There were 17 guys out there all fighting over one Peterbilt. One Peterbilt, right? And all of these internationals were sitting there and I told her, I said, you know what? Give me any color. I don't care. I want the new truck. Take any one of their papers. I'll take it. And she's like, really? You'll take it? Yes, I will. Just give me a brand new truck, damn it. But everybody has jobs to do. And, she did have a bunch of lease ops that were sitting there wanting trucks, and then she has me. And no, I was being demanding too. Sorry. But
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing that I can't think of that I've asked of Prime that they were like, nope, we're not doing that. They've always been like, okay, let's see what we can do. They've been very accommodating in that aspect.
like, usually when I ask people, why do you want to go lease? So I can go home when I want. Number one answer.
Costs money, man.
But then I ask them, how often do you go home? How often do you go home?
How often do I go home? About 2 weeks every 6 weeks. So 2
Okay.
weeks every 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. I'll take 2 weeks off straight. That's the one thing that I enjoy about it, is just the length of home time. It's like getting a 2 week vacation every 6 to 8 weeks off. Once the truck's paid off in 2 years, it'll be a different story. It'll be a little bit that $1,300 truck payment will be savings money at that point, for whatever, whether it's truck needs, emergency stuff, whatever. But you can't make money if you're not on the road. A lot of people come into trucking, they think, well, I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna get to go home whenever I want. Well, you got to constitute what that means for you with your lifestyle and your bills. Give the referral to Kearsey. She's a company driver. I know she needs the money.
Really?
I had to get
Yeah,
you. I
that's
had to
right.
get you.
I'm just a lowly company driver. I have no
Whatever.
freedom,
I don't
But
look at you like
but
that.
pretty
I'm
much
just
like, and people don't get this, but on a company truck, I usually stayed out 5 to 6 weeks and then took a week off. So I'd stay
Right.
out like 6 days and be back on the road the 6th day, the 7th day. Now I'm doing 4 weeks out and 1 week home because I'm on the lease truck,
That's
running for
good.
the mini fleet. But and I said this a little bit earlier, was that we get raises. Like, people do the whole 50 cent a mile thing, but we get raises the longer we're here. I got a longevity raise from Prime. So
It's good.
so we make a lot more than people realize. And that's one issue that I really have, that it's just like, if you're going to go out and tell people that you make so much more money, then you should be able to tell them what I make too,
Right.
And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.